All right, folks, this is Lawrence with another edition of Fellowship of the Father, and I think we're going to be doing a video on keeping it pushing. Keep it pushing. What does that mean to me? Keep it pushing. What does that mean to you, more importantly? What does that mean to you? To keep it pushing. So let's think about this. So in our lives, we can either decide to grin and bear it and deal with life's challenges and keep going, or we can get stuck in certain circumstances. So I did a personality exam online one time. One of the things they talked about is one of the things they requested: are you a catastrophizer? Do you catastrophize things? Do you say things like, my car is down, therefore my life is ruined, in your mind? Whether or not you're saying that. Or this is going to take weeks to fix. Or, this mediocre challenge that never used to bug you now has become these insurmountable situations, right? And so one of the things on this profile test, it did determine that I had, it asked a series of questions, and then it determined that I can be guilty of catastrophizing. So I had to look at that and say, like, well, what is it that I'm catastrophizing? And so, that's something that I think we're being trained to do, is like everything in the media, everything in our lives now has an enormous amount of weight. The amount of mortgage we're paying on our homes, the amount of insurance we're paying on our vehicles, this, that, and the other. And some of the most successful people in the world, they're not worried about that stuff. And you got to ask yourself, why is it that they don't get hung up on that? And it's just basically a thinking pattern. So we're going to talk about some practicals on how you might be able to change that up. So one would be like, even today, I have many irons in the fire all at the same time. I'm trying to figure out, when I have my days off, what I should do with that time. Generally, what I'll do is sit there and evaluate. Okay, should I do this? Should I do that? And the best thing you could do, one, is get organized, and two, once you're organized, you got to start trusting yourself that the organization organizing that you've done on the front end is in your mind, and you could just go ahead and push ahead. So, for instance, I started doing this, I started doing that, and I started feeling myself floating away. So I said, wait a minute. If all I do is just pick one of the three major categories and dive into it, then at the end of the day, I'll get something done. I'll be productive, instead of so wrapped up that at the end of the day, nothing's done because I didn't make any decisions. So I just decided, okay, I'm going to go ahead and catch up on some of the filming for Fellowship of the Fathers. So that's what I did. So keep it pushing, right? So funny thing is that's what was the topic on my shooting schedule. So I'm going to tell you a story about a minister that I ran across, and he used to be a cop, and he had a funny habit that I don't know if he understands that he does it to this day, and I've seen it in a lot of footages of police officers, is what they do is, tell me what happened. This, that, and the other happened. Okay? This, that, and the other. Okay? Okay. And by the way, here's my excuse for driving erratically. Okay? And here come, okay? And they keep using the word okay. Okay? Okay. 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 So what does that do? You can be talking to someone that you have no interest in, that you hate the guts of, and still use the word okay, and it will keep that rhythm moving. If you're really concerned about the person, you just keep you're supposed to be listening, you're supposed to be an active listener, so you just use the word okay instead of like, well, let's ponder that. Let's really get deep into that. All you have to say is okay. Okay, I get the gist of I know where you're going with this, based on our history, based on what you've told me. Okay, okay, okay. So now you're cramming your conversation with acknowledgments of the fact that I'm on board with what you're saying. I know where you're going with this. I believe I know where you're going with this. Let's get some more information. And at the end of the day, you're going to get a lot more achieved by just doing something so simple as, okay. And so say that your spouse says, hey, I got an idea. We're going to do X, Y, and Z today. It doesn't necessarily require a yes or a no from you. It doesn't. You don't have to stop what you're doing and say like, oh, here's a crossroads. We got to deal with this crossroads. You could just simply say, okay. And you could be pondering something, and then you can get back to it and you say, now, when we were talking about that one item, I have a different idea. What do you think about this? But instead, we make, not we, I'm gonna go ahead and talk about myself. If you're included in this, if the shoe fits, wear it, right? I have a tendency to park on these little crossroads of conversation. Oh, wait a minute. You're talking about this now? Okay. So I pack up all my stuff that I was doing before, and now we're hyper-focused on this one area. And it really doesn't lend itself to a lot of productivity. So here you got a policeman. Their one job is to collect as much information as possible and to get, I guess, business done for the state or their organization, whatever it be. If it's a sheriff, it's county, I guess, but whatever. Their one job is to keep things pushing and keep collecting information and keep generating income and keep on enforcing things and move on to the next thing. Do the paperwork, but once you're done with the paperwork, move on. Then that gets filed and boom, boom, systematic. There's a lot of production in that. There's a lot of productive activity going on there, right? So that's a good way to look at how you can keep life productive. The car's broken in. Okay. So why don't we do this? Why don't we go ahead and call the mechanic? Well, we can't call the mechanic. Okay. I'm going to call him anyway. You didn't really argue with the person, but now you're getting productive again, and you didn't have to get stuck in a combative technique. Okay, who's going to win this argument? We are going to talk to this person. We're going to talk about how we're going to talk to this person. Now, you don't need to do that. All you have to say is like, okay, I'll tell you what, I know you're busy. I'll call the person, and you keep it pushing. Does that make sense? So as I'm doing these videos, my ultimate goal is to make them perfect. However, I'm finding that there's a learning curve, and so I'd love to be able to just crush it out the gate. Unfortunately, the only way you could really learn, especially in production, is to put in the man hours, understand concepts, put in more man hours, begin to understand more concepts, and keep on studying until all these little holes in your game are filled eventually. Right? That's kind of how it works when you're doing like YouTube videos. You don't know what you don't know until you start producing the videos and you realize the sound's wrong, the area that you're recording in is wrong. The lighting's wrong. The microphone isn't the proper microphone for whatever it is. And so you keep it pushing, and you keep on growing through the pushing. So again, I did have a scripture that kind of pertained to this. I can't remember what it was. I will leave it up there as the film rolls, but that's what this is about. Keep it pushing, and try to keep it pushing this week. Like, share, and subscribe. Leave a comment in the comment section. Let me know what you think of the video. Let me hear about how you're keeping it pushing this week. And this is Lawrence with Fellowship of the Father, and I hope you have a great week. We will talk later. Bye-bye.